Remember way back when you had to spend well over $1,000 to get any DSP-like service from your interface? And if it was under $1,000, it definitely didn't have routing. Well, I think with the past few years behind us, you can finally say these features are literally mainstream. And the latest to present you with those features is this, the Lewitt Connect 6. By the way, Lewitt did send me this unit for the purpose of this review, but as every other company has learned, I don't hold back either way. So why don't we find out, shall we? And with that in mind, well, how do I put this? In the words of my wife on our third date, I thought it was bigger. Seriously, perhaps it was just me, but in everything I saw it in, I did not expect this size when I pulled it out. That said, not a bad thing per se. Some might like the smaller footprint and might enjoy something less in your face. What I can honestly say I hate, though, is this plastic body. It doesn't feel the cheapest, but oh, does it sound cheap. If you don't like Zoom plastic, you're not going to like this. Now, there are different qualities of plastic. I should point that out. And the quality here feels a bit fragile. Also, if you are a clean freak, the top glossy plastic will drive you nuts. It's an absolute fingerprint magnet. Now, on the front, you have two headphone outs, one for the smaller jack and one for the 1/4 inch. Of course, you also have that top knob. It does have a satisfying click when you press it down, but there is a decent amount of movement to it. On the other side of that coin, the combo jacks are quite good with no real play in them, though they are plastic as well. The rest of the jacks are fine as well. All in all, I'm kind of hoping it gets better from here on out. I'm a tad disappointed in the build quality. Okay then, let's see if we can turn it around with specs. This thing is a 6-in and 6-out interface. It's 24-bit and 96 kilohertz. It's bus powered, though it does also have a secondary power supply in case things start pulling too much. It weighs just under a pound and it's USB 2.0. It has 4 effects built into the DSP with compression, EQ, an expander, and a maximizer. And finally, it has 72 dB of gain and an advertised EIN of neg 133 dBV, which, by the way, I kind of did some loose math. That's around neg 130 dBu. If you know what I'm talking about there, you know what they did. Sneaky Lewitt. Though, I will have to say, still impressive if true. Now, the DSP on this thing is rather simple and straightforward, though impressive. Full control over all the settings here. The 4-band EQ is more than most will need, and the expander is actually quite good. I am kind of disappointed that there's no presets that come with this, especially since this could either be a mic or a guitar coming through here. And it would be nice for some beginners to have a one-button approach. That said, there is kind of a one-button approach to it in a way. It's called the one-time setup. Basically, you hit the button, talk for 10 seconds, and it spits out what some of the recommendations you might want. I found its recommendations to be a bit off for my likings. That said, this thing is slated for future updates, kind of like the Rodecaster Pro 2 and the Vocaster. So this is a work in progress, I would imagine. As for the routing, it's really nice. I do like it. You can see you have 3 virtual outs and 2 mixes for the headphones. I think this is way more than a lot of people are going to need, but really cool that it's there. There's also an aux in, a mobile in, and a mobile out. This way you can hook things up to put in your mix from your phone and also send audio to record to a device like your phone or an H5 or H6, which is a really cool feature. Now we have the SM7B test, and this is really important. This thing needs to be able to drive an SM7B without overwhelming noise from the preamps, okay? And this is what it sounds like. Now, when I go into the Lewitt Control Center, I notice that this thing is sitting at what they call 50 dB of gain. This is not 50 dB of gain. There is nothing else on. I don't have the low pass filter. I don't have the expander, compressor, or equalizer on. And the maximizer is not on either. And this is what you're getting from the SM7B at about 2 o'clock on the gain dial on the Lewitt Control Center, getting a very, very healthy signal. So then, while we have this low gain microphone up, let's turn the gain all the way up to see exactly how much noise we're getting out of these preamps. So I'm at 72 on the gain dial. I'm sitting about 2 feet away from the SM7B. and you can hear the amount of noise. So we're going to bring it down. Now I'm sitting about 2 feet away from an SM7B, and I think the noise level is decent. Remember, I'm 2 feet away from the SM7B, and the gain dial is at 60. Now, to give you an idea how much gain that is, and how clean this gain is, this is how loud it is when it's right up against my mouth. And I don't want to go too loud here because this is already really loud. That's impressive, though I'm not sure they needed all the gain beyond this. And now, once again, we have the SM7B right in front of me. The gain is back down to 50. And once again, I am getting some amazing audio coming through. In fact, if I'm not careful, I can peak with this, just with the gain at 50. So the SM7B definitely gets a pass. Now let's take a look at the expander, compressor, and equalizer, and we'll also throw that roll off on there as well. Okay, so now we have the expander, and you can actually see how the expander is working in here. I'm not going to go through how this works, but I just want you to hear exactly what it sounds like. Once again, you can see over here, I'm at 50 dB on their gain dial, which is at about a little after 2. And this is how the expander is working. You can hear it kind of stomp down, and you can actually see it stomp down with the expansion here. So now with the expander on, let's go into the compressor. We're going to turn that on. And now you can see the compression. And I actually really like the layout of this setup, how you set your compression. It's very, very, very easy to do. You pull a line down, and you can notice the compression going in and out there. So you definitely don't want it as high as that. So we're going to set the compression to basically just take out some of the peaks. So let's put it to, there we go, 10 dB. And you're not going to notice a lot of compression kicking in over here. I actually have to get quite loud for it to kick in. The ratio 4:1, I like 4:1 for doing voice. The attack release, we're just going to leave that. And you do have makeup gain, just in case you really want to stomp the crap out of your audio signal. You can use makeup gain in the end. I think maybe we'll just put a little bit extra on here. All right, how about that? There we go. There you can actually see the compression kicking in, right? Okay, so that's the compression. And now we're going to work on the EQ. We're going to turn that on, and we're going to, wow, okay. So we've already got a roll off happening here. So we're going to bring that down, and we're going to take number 4, and we're going to raise up. We're going to give the SM7B a little bit of body in the top end. There we go. You can set what each band is going to do. So if you want a low shelf, peak, notch, high shelf, high cut, low cut, all that stuff, each one of these very customizable. Now we're going to take a look at the maximizer. And basically what this does is you turn it on, and it's kind of an output compression. It's adding a master mix for it. So it's basically taking everything. If you've got multiple different channels going through and everything's being recorded into one, this will kind of make it all sound kind of like one. It doesn't really do that much for a single mic because I already have all that stuff on in the expander, compression, equalizer. This is just an outbound compressor to make sure all your levels are relatively decent. Okay, then let's start with the pros because I like to be positive sometimes, right? This thing does a lot. And in the hands of someone that knows what they're doing, this could be your Huckleberry.
I'm your Huckleberry.
Seriously powerful machine that will make your life easier almost instantly, whether you're doing some basement music or maybe a podcast on the go. This thing will handle the load. Also, with 72 dB of really clean gain and the ability to add a second power source for charging your phone or perhaps driving headphones, well, you can get that. This thing might be the last interface that you buy for some time, unless the cheap plastic breaks, which means, well, we're on to the cons. And it's really hard to overlook the build. It feels like this would be a one drop and done scenario, which does kind of tie into my next complaint, though it's more of a personal one. I hate the one knob control concept. I like buttons. I don't want to have to cycle through everything every time I need to change something. And I know more buttons is more points of failure. That is true. But this knob being of the build quality it is, well, more points of failure isn't my immediate concern. I did, however, find the software to be very user-friendly, and if I'm being honest, I stopped using the actual interface controls almost immediately. Also, just one more note. I really wish this thing had Bluetooth as an input. Not all phones can plug in, especially older ones like mine. Now, all that said, I can honestly say this thing will be worth your money. It can do a lot and do it well, and it can do that at a great price point. I would be a bit worried about the on-the-run stuff, but if this thing is going to be on your desk and not being moved, wow. What a great purchase. The footprint is amazing. I mean, I've owned wallets that take up more desk space. And the fact that it can drive any mic along with the DSP, that's a lot for $300. Now, I will get this question a lot. Should it be this or the Revelator? Well, there's a lot of personal choice here, but I much prefer the software on this and the preamps as well. So for me, I would probably go Lewitt over PreSonus, though that is just my personal opinion, not law. I do want to know, however, which one do you prefer after you've been watching this? By the way, if you didn't see my review on that, check it out up here.